Welcome to a new episode of On the Spot Review. I'm going to talk about brand new animal BNA. It's an anime made by Studio Trigger. It's on Netflix. It's 12 episodes long. It's available in subs and dubs, so pick your poison. Uh, so before we get into the story of this show, I want to talk about the music and the animation. The music is really good. I've been listening to the soundtrack for like 3 days straight. It is so good. It has a lot. It has this good variation of synth soothing music that's like very like relaxing. You get the mystery suspenseful music. Then you have um uh the soothing relaxing. You get the action tracks as well. And some of the soundtrack sounds like stuff from, this is gonna be a weird comparison, but songs from No More Heroes. It's giving me No More Heroes vibes in some cases. One song in particular, it's called Breakout, so look that up. That song sounds like something from No More Heroes to me. It kept giving me vibes of that. But I really like the soundtrack. It's just one of my favorite soundtracks from Trigger, and Trigger does a lot of good music. They have a lot of good soundtracks for their shows. But I think BNA really is a class above it because it's so long it's so full for rich of songs, and all the songs are just memorable beats that are just like so nice to listen to. One of my favorite intros I've ever heard is Ready 2. It's so like upbeat and energetic, and I really love Ready 2. And usually, like, I'm not a huge fan of anime soundtracks that do like the intros instrumentals. Like, I don't like the instrumental themes for a lot of shows because they always feel empty and kind of like soulless to me in some cases. Like, you can't really take away the vocals of a lot of themes from anime. While I think Ray 2 is just as good instrumental as it is vocal, which is insane to me. Like, I listened to it by accident one time and I was just like, this sounds really good. Like, just, I mean, there are parts where you can kind of tell that, it's missing vocals, but it's like, but so much of it is so like, oh, hell yeah. Like, it feels really, really nice. I really love the soundtrack. It's really one of my favorites that Trigger has put out for their shows. Like, Lord Academia kind of subverted my expectation for that soundtrack. And I like that soundtrack too. That's also like a packed soundtrack full of like really like interesting kind of songs that are done in interesting ways. While BNA, I think, is just as packed and has all these cool like little synth stuff that's really like just a treat to listen to. It is really one of my favorite soundtracks. I highly recommend checking the soundtrack out. So please do that if you want. I could gush about it all day. Not gonna do that. Let's talk about the animation and the art style. Being that it's done by Studio Trigger, you know what to expect. There's some modesty with their budgets all the time with their animation. There's some cheap tricks that they do to kind of cover up some of their stuff. A lot of it is done for style and just kind of humor, which is really really good. I really like that Trigger has kind of mastered that style where it's like, it's not amateur. Like, they know what they're doing. Like, they're using it in such a masterful way. It's kind of insane that you have a studio that does these things that most animation studios would just say, this is bad, fix this, or whatever. And Trigger's like, no, we're just gonna just do this, and we're gonna utilize it to the best of the show's style. And that's really one of the things that I always loved about Trigger, is that they have a very striking style that sets them apart from everyone in the game. Everyone in the industry is doing, like, they're all good in their own way. I mean, I'm not saying that they all suck and Trigger's like the best. Of course not. But Trigger is so different and unique that you never know what you're gonna get with their new shows. Like, every new show is something different. Their styles keep changing and improving, and it's really nice. Like, I thought that like Kill la Kill was like the pinnacle. Like, oh, they can't top Kill la Kill style. I mean, that has like a cool color contrast. It has a cool like line art in it. It's really like rad. They can't top it. And then, like, oh, here's Little Witch Academia, and it's like insane how cool that show looks. Oh, here's Promare, and that's another striking show with style. And then you have BNA that is just like, what the fuck, Trigger? Like they keep improving their style visually, and even like the animation they did for the Indivisible game is just fucking gorgeous. Like I really think Trigger has time and time again shown that they have a lot of soul and heart put into their stuff that they put out. And I kind of feel like that Trigger is the Platinum Games of anime. They're like this kind of a group of people are just like kind of punk rock and they're badass and they're just here to just do whatever and they just do stuff for fun and they have so much like charm into their work. Um, and I really love what they do with their animation. And one of the things that they do, as I said earlier, that they kind of hide a lot of their their tight budget or they kind of use cheap tricks in their shows to either be as a gag or whatever. And one of them being in BNA is that in the second episode, I believe, the wolf guy Shiro, the wolf beastman, grabs Michiru and he's like taking her to be locked up in a closet because whatever. So as he's doing that, they did not animate him walking. They just kind of teleport him like here, here, here. And I love that so much. It was so funny, and it's like no studio would take the risk of like, hey, let's just have this character just kind of jump frames and not animate the walk cycle because that could take a lot of time, a lot of money to just do a simple walk cycle. And I just love that they're just like, yeah, fuck, he's just gonna teleport down. Like that is just used in a way that is just meant to like kind of make you laugh, and I love that kind of use of it. It's very unorthodox and different. The other thing I love about BNA is that the character designs are very, very good. They're very clever with what they do. So each Beastman in the show has a human transformation. So they all can look like humans if they want, or transform to Beastmen, whatever. They could do that at will, pretty much. I kind of feel that they chose to do that because they probably realize, in the grand scheme of things, yeah, if we're gonna animate all these people doing stuff, it'd be better if they had a human form and not have them be beastmen all the way, because that way it'd just be a pain in the ass to animate each one, and they could just kind of and they don't and it also alleviates any concern of because there's only so many animals you can kind of throw into a show, and you're just like, well, we can't have like five Tanuki girls in the show. It's interesting how they handle it. So they're just like, yeah, give them human form, and that'll be good enough. So I do like that, and I like the Beastman forms too. They're all very unique and styled too. They take all these characteristics of animals and they kind of exaggerate them to make them look natural. And obviously, with BNA being a show with animals, I'm gonna make the comparison to Beastars. Beastars is good. It's a good show. I'm not. I don't. I'm gonna say something, and I don't mean to dog on Beastars. Was a good show, but the one thing I really could not get into with Beastars, which was like an uphill battle for me, was I hated how the characters looked. All of them. Like the animation in Beastars is clunky at best. Like it's just kind of wonky it's a first season, so I always give shows multiple seasons to kind of get a groove because no studio is gonna dump a lot of money on a show that's new. So I'm gonna give Beastars a little bit more of a chance moving forward. But uh, the thing I just don't like is that I just could not get into all these animals having humanistic proportions. It's really like odd. Like the rabbit that's in the show, like she has a rabbit head and then like she has like a human body and a rabbit tail, and it's just like this is so like weird, and it's just like it was off putting. Like it's not weird. Like oh they got so wacky. But it was just off putting to have all these animals and they all have like human bodies. It was just like it just did not look good and it did not look natural to me. It just looked really off and it just I couldn't get over it throughout the whole show. Like the story was good enough for me to like kind of look past it, but it was just something that was just like oh my god, I'm not in love with this. And it's also like a CG anime, which I really am not a fan of. The only thing that I think Beastars does well as a CG 3D anime is that it does have a lot of detail, so it looks natural. A lot of CG animations that I've seen, they just think, okay, let's take the 2D and put it in 3D, and they don't add anything else, so it looks kind of goofy. but it's not that. But it just looks goofy. Just the proportions and the bodies they gave them. It's just like I couldn't get into that. While with BNA. Oh, the other thing I was gonna say about Beastars before I forget about it, the only animals that looked fine in that show, mind you, was when the wolf guy Imagishi, I vaguely remember the names in that show, but when he went to like full wolf mode, or whatever, he looked fine as that. I guess. I mean, it looked more natural. I guess that's why. The tigers looked good, or not the tigers, the lions. They were lions. They looked good in that show, and so did the panda guy. But everything else just looked really off to me. To compare that with BNA, all of the animal beastman forms, they look fine. They have these good proportions. They accentuate a lot of the characteristics of the animals to make them look like, hey, they're beastmen. You know, they do a good job kind of having these hybrid animals. And I'm not a huge fan either of anthropomorphic animals. It's like this isn't for me. I like just whatever. But this show is just hit the right like chords with me with the animation and the art style. You know, all this stuff really worked and with a synergy of everything that I like. It did everything I'm looking for in animation. The lighting is just gorgeous to look at. You know, there's this one fight scene in the beginning, the first episode, and the action is so well animated and choreographed. You have this cool lighting as well that kind of goes with it, and it's such a blast. It is just like holy shit. There's all this stuff going on. It's like I really loved how the fight scenes were animated in the show. They have that triggered magic of high energy, high motion kind of action, and I really do think that Trigger kind of mastered that kind of animation. You know, a lot of people, they do good fight scenes here and there, but I mean, Trigger is just like a whole other level of action with their animation, and the character designs are just out of this world too. As I said about the Beastman designs, that they're very like um stylized to look kind of the way that they do. Like they have this rooster guy that they take like the thing that the rooster has, they kind of make it a beard in his human form, and when he turns into a rooster, you kind of see the form that he would be as a human. You see the beak that's like the same like shape as the nose. He has the same kind of eyes. A lot of the stuff kind of mirrors that, and it's so like wild that they were able to pull that off, and it was just it's really clever. The character designs are very clever. There's a lot of stuff like there's a lot of paradoxes with some shows like Ruby where they give these anthropomorphic animals like two sets of ears, and it's just like, how does that work? Do they have 4D audio? Like how can you have a girl with like cat ears or rabbit ears and have normal human ears at the same time? How does that work? And here they get around that by saying, oh yeah, the ears just kind of form here, then they just go to wherever their normal location would be when they turn back to animals. So it kind of has this cool little balance, and I think these animal designs are very clever with that, and how they kind of convey character personality with them as well. That's the other thing that I think is a loss on in some shows and some uh, animation stuff as well, is that you can convey character personality just by their visuals. Like you can sit there and say, oh, it's kind of cliched and generic to do that, but it's still like a nice little detail. Like you have Shiro, who's like this tired, like wolf guy. Is hardened. He's this badass, and you have his partner, Michiru, who's this optimistic, naive character with these big eyes, and she's like very happy, and she's all this kind of stuff, and it's this cool little paradox, and you see like so much being evoked with the character designs, and Trigger's done that with so many other shows that it's like I love it. I love that little detail with their character designs. It's out of this world. I can honestly gush and gush and gush about the animation and art style of BNA all day if I wanted to. So for the sake of our sanity, I'm gonna move on to the story. So let's talk about the story. The story is really interesting. It's a mystery. I don't want to say it's like a noir or neo noir or anything like that. It's not necessarily like a pure action movie as well, but it has this cool little mystery going on. Recently I was listening to a podcast talking about Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Excuse me. And it's kind of like that in some ways, but not super really, but kind of whatever. But the story is that the main character Michiru wakes up one day and she finds out that she's a beastman. She woke up as a Tanuki and she's like, "What the fuck? I'm a Tanuki!" And she doesn't know what happened because she was born a human. She knew she was a human and she woke up as a Tanuki and she was very confused. So she tries to make a run to go to the city called Anima City, that is a city haven for beastmen, so that they don't deal with humans hating on them, all that kind of stuff. Because the humans obviously are racist towards beastmen. And at that you're saying, sure, that's like a very low hanging fruit thing to have in a show like this. Like, oh yeah, humans are racist against beastmen, of course. They kind of did that with Beastars as well, with predators and prey animals, which is like, okay, with Beastars, it was a little bit interesting in the narrative and what they were trying to go for with that. But I think BNA does it a little bit more interesting, where it's not that shallow. And, yeah, like this is a factor in some stuff that humans hate beastmen and beastmen have their own beefs with humans, but it's not. It doesn't focus on that. That's not like the end all be all of the show. So it's nice that it's there just as a detail of that world. You understand why the city has to exist and what's so important about Anima City. So she goes there to find out if they have a cure for what she is, if they have any answers for what she is. As she's doing that, there is this ongoing investigation with these terrorist groups that are terrorizing Anima City, and as this mystery unfolds, stuff starts to come to light, and stuff might not be as they seem. Uh, I mean, it's a little bit of spoilers, but before I get into that, I do want to talk about some stuff that's interesting before I get to the heavy stuff. The thing that I really like about the story is that it has these characters, Michiru and Shiro, the wolf beastman. These two have their own sets of prejudices. Shiro has his prejudice against humans because he has never seen a human that has been kind to Beastman. He only known a world of hurt with humans, so he has no trust and no remorse for humans. While Michiru just she spends time in Anima City. In episode 2, she's trying to get her wallet that was stolen from her. She gets roped into this house full of like prostitutes that have all these kids that are not wanted, all that kind of shit. They tell her you have to teach these kids how to read and write, um, and you'll get your wallet back, whatever. So she does that. As she's doing that, they have to sell these kids off in the black market, including Michiru. And as that's going on, she breaks free, all that kind of stuff, and she tells Shiro, this was going on. Why didn't you do anything? You knew this whole thing was set up here, and this can't be the first time. And she starts to reveal that after that moment and all that time that she's been in Anima City, that she hates it. She hates how the beastmen in the city are so corrupt, and they let this stuff go on, and they don't do anything, and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, well, you didn't do anything. You came in last minute. What if you came late? All this stuff. Like she starts dumping all this, and you realize that the thing that is really tricky with this is that you run the risk, if you have a character that's just a racist, you run the risk of making that character unlikable, and you're gonna lose the viewer at that point. And it becomes an uphill battle to get them to sit through the whole show to see their arc. While I think with Michiru, I don't think she's maliciously hating Beastman, but I think she just hates that they're no better than humans, and they're judging humans harshly too. So it's this interesting synergy of prejudices that both Shiro and Michiru have, that as the show goes on, these two kind of help each other out of it, and they both have a good understanding of both sides of these conflicts, and it's really like it's a nice, charming story with these characters. And again, as I said, they're likable characters because neither of them have this like violent, vitriol, hateful view on one another. I mean, maybe Shiro does to some extent, but his literally gets explained as the show goes on. So he has a little bit more of a reason. While Michiru is like this kind-hearted character, but um, she has her own prejudice in the sense that she thinks that she sees that they're no better than humans, and how dare they judge us and all this kind of stuff. But then she understands as the show goes on that they have their own plights and a lot of their own shit that they have to deal with, and they can't really have these. They can't do much. It's this interesting dynamic between these two characters that just unfold beautifully as the show goes on, and it's such a nice dynamic. And the other thing I want to say with about Michiru's character is that it breaks the mold of a lot of stuff. Like with Kill la Kill, Kill la Kill is a great show as well. I like that show as well, but Ryuko is such a generic character because she's a badass that's angry and she wants to get revenge and she's mad and she doesn't want to care about the simple things or anything. Just go in there and beat people up, that kind of character. Like, it works for the story, sure, but it's a character we've seen in so many stuff before. She's not a new character. Neither is Satsuki either. Even though I think Satsuki's a little more interesting in Kill la Kill. But anyways, Ryuko is a very like straightforward character. You've seen her type before. Even with Promare, Gallo is another generic character you've seen in shows. I do like stupid characters like Gallo. I am a sucker for them, but I do recognize that's also a typical trope for shows to have this stupid, naive, like optimistic hero that's Gallo. But I always like those kind of hero types. It's just I'm a sucker for that. And then with like Little Witch Academia, kind of broke the mold a little bit with Akko. Like it was interesting with Little Witch Academia because Akko they never like tell oh she's the chosen one or anything, and she always failed at everything. But it was interesting to see that she kept trying and she was also a good natured character. And Michiru is kind of like that. She's kind of like Akko, but I think Michiru is much more competent. I don't think she's not a genius either, but I think Michiru is a more interesting character because there's a little bit more going on with her, and I think she's a much more lovable character because she's so good natured to a fault. Like yeah, as I said, yeah, she has this little mini prejudice against Beastmen, but she still like hangs out with them. She's still kind to them. I mean, she's not there to say like "fuck you," anything like that. Like she just has these other issues that she thinks are a little bit weird that she doesn't understand and all that kind of stuff. But she's so good natured and she's so like loyal to her friends that's really nice. And one of the episodes just again, people, you guys bear with me with this comparison. It's like Fully Cooley Alternative. Now, of course, before you say it, I know Fully Cooley Alternative is nowhere near as good as the original, but it's pretty good. I do recommend Alternative. It's still a solid story overall, and it has a lot of good charm in it. But the thing I like about Fully Cooley Alternative that kind of goes with this is that it had this message of friendships. Like in Fully Cooley Alternative, the main character thinks that she's friends with everyone and all this kind of stuff. She later finds out that one of the people that she thought was her friend, Pets, I think her name was Pets, she actually hated her. She was like, you kept getting involved in my shit. I didn't ask you for help, and you helped everyone without, them asking. You got involved with their shit, and they didn't ask you. It's fucked up, and all this stuff. And I really liked that because it was just like this harsh moment where like because every fucking show always has like these friendship types that no one calls out necessarily or have any like conflict with them. And now a political alternative and BNA kind of addresses that kind of shit by saying like, look, you are getting way too involved with people's lives, and these people did not ask you. Don't you think that's a little bit selfish that you're doing all this stuff to make yourself feel good about yourself? All this kind of stuff. And BNA gets involved with that with Michiru, and it was so like it's such a cool little like scene to have. Now I got a little bit ahead of myself there. I apologize. So now we're getting to like I'm gonna start getting to the big heavy stuff. So if you don't want to see this, I'll try to remember to put the timestamp in the description or on screen, whatever comes first, for you to skip to the end. So look at the description if you want to skip the spoilers. You've been warned. So the thing that I didn't realize, by I don't know if it was episode 5 or 6 or 4. I can't remember which episode numbers, but the one where Michiru hangs out with the dolphin beastman. Excuse me. She hangs out with the dolphin beastman, and in that episode, I forgot about this in the beginning. In the first episode, let's start there. Jeez, I'm like all over the place. I'm sorry. But in the first episode, the very first thing you see is a broken bike, and you don't know what the fuck happened. I think you might hear sirens, but it goes by so quickly that you kind of forget about it. And after a while, like the show, at this point, you've forgotten about that part of the first episode, like I did. You probably don't even remember that. Uh, but then this episode with the dolphin, it starts having these little flashbacks, and these flashbacks are never truly addressed in this episode. This episode just kind of shows them to you, and they don't really talk about it, which is beautiful storytelling. I love that shit because it really makes because I love when shit makes your brain race, and it makes it because you start thinking about stuff, and that's really what I love about BNA. Like I'm getting a little bit teary eyed with this because this stuff is a little emotional to me for some reason. But there's a part where like the dolphin beast man is asking Michiru like, oh, I have these AirPods. They're not AirPods, guys, but she has like one pair. And it's like I lost the other pair, and that triggered Michiru to think back of her when she was human, hanging out with her best friend, listening to the same song. They never address the name of the person, never address what happened. They just show you these scenes raw, just bam, and you're just like, "Oh, what?" And then it gets back to the main story of that episode, and throughout the episode they kind of intersperse these little flashback scenes of showing you these times where Michiru really had this really close friend, and they don't really address stuff. I think they might. It might have been a later episode, but I think they might also show the accident that happened. Um, and that because I'm thinking it's either this episode or it was the episode where they introduced the wolf cult. Well, I'll just say it in general. So like eventually in one of those two episodes they show that they got into an accident and they went to the hospital, and I think it was Michiru that was in the hospital, but they could have been both in the hospital. I honestly don't. I think they both were at the hospital. Yeah, both had to be. They were both at the hospital. And you never know what. They don't. At that point, I kind of forgot why they were in the hospital because they show the hospital scene, but they don't show the accident. Now that I think about it, they just show the hospital scene, and you're just like, wait. Why was she in the hospital? Oh man, I was really confused with that when I was first watching, and then they addressed it later on. But like the emotional beats in this show is so well done. So they're trying to find out like what Michiru is. How did she get the Beastman stuff? And they also try to find out the information about these terrorists that are terrorizing Anima City. They eventually go to this hospital called Silvasta because they heard that there's a bomb there or whatever. So they tried to do some investigations, and one of them was like, "Wait a second, this girl's a Tanuki girl. There's something fishy about this." And they started like doing some research, and they realized that she was human, and that started sparking some interesting like stuff with this organization that's organizing under the shadows. It's like, oh, what's going on here? So as that's going on, that kind of goes on the back burner for a bit. Um, there is some filler episodes. I think there's like one, maybe two filler episodes. Now, the thing I loved about these filler episodes is that they don't waste your fucking time. These filler episodes are used to give character development to Michiru and all the other cast, which is really good. Like if you're gonna do filler, do that, because the one thing that I think is egregious for a lot of animes to do this and all that kind of shit is that they throw in filler because they didn't catch up to the manga, and they just do stupid stories that are just a waste of time. And like, even like Last Airbender was guilty of that. Like, I think the only filler episode I liked was Tales of Ba Sing Se, because that those at least had like short stories that involved character, and they went through all these moments. But a lot of filler episodes in book one were just kind of a waste of time, and they were just kind of dumb. I did not like them. I'll say that they just didn't seem like they were that interesting. But uh, BNA doesn't do that. Like, their filler episodes serve to like kind of give more of a understanding to the world with these characters. Like, Michiru joins a baseball team. I think this one was episode 6. He joins a baseball team, and it's this nice moment with like her getting involved with the sport, playing with all these kids, getting involved in sports again because she loved basketball, but now she's getting into baseball, and she starts winning games. She starts having fun. She starts really like warming up to Anima City, which is really nice. That served an important beat for that character, and it plays a bigger role in the grand scheme of things because she forms a friendship with all these kids at the game that like it comes full circle by the end, which is really good. Um, and then you have the coach who. No, this I really like. This is why I like the baseball episode, which is surprising for me because I thought I was not gonna like this episode. I thought I was gonna hate it. I like the story with the coach that he gets involved with gambling, and he starts like, just he's kind of dead inside by doing baseball because he's just like, fuck, I'm getting money and we just have to lose. Fuck it. And then when they start winning, it starts upsetting the gang he's gambling with, and they start threatening him, saying, "Hey, you better start losing your games. You're winning too much. You gotta stop this." And even as many times as he tries to make them lose, they keep winning. And at some point, uh, the coach starts to remember what he was when he was younger. He was a huge baseball fan, and there was an incident that happened to him that made him kind of stop playing baseball, and that hit him hard. But hearing that, like, he starts getting more and more like nostalgic, and it ends with him saying, "Yeah, I'm not gonna gamble anymore. This isn't for me. I think I just want to play the game." And he just walks away from getting all the money that he could have gotten, and he kind of walks away from that. And that's such a charming story, and it was such a nice story. Like, it's filler, but it has a lot of heart to it. Like, it contributed a lot to a lot of things, and like Shiro through that. The only way that coach, got nostalgic about that because Shiro intervened because Shiro started to notice that, oh, uh, Michiru's getting a big investment in this, and she's actually having fun and all this stuff, and he starts getting invested in it too because he starts caring a little bit, and that's what I mean. Like, they use this filler episode to make Shiro and Michiru stronger characters, with each other, and it doesn't feel like it's a waste. It's not wasted at all. It's not there trying to pad out time or stretch out the story. It felt worthy of being there. And like it earned its existence, which is really good because a lot of like, I'm getting like really heated about this because you could have good fillers. Like, I don't understand why studios don't capitalize on good fillers. Like, this filler is really good because there's a lot of stuff to sit there and enjoy and have feeling with. Like, I'm tired of like, let's have a story where they go on a wild goose chase. Oh, this thing happened and it means nothing. It's like, fuck you. Like, this added so much to these characters, and I really loved it. I really loved what this episode meant for everything, and it was such a good story too on its own. Not only just as a whole and part of of the grander scheme of the show, but it's good on its own too. It's a lovely episode. I definitely recommend watching the episode too. And I do think that they also do throw in a little bit of the main story in there, like little breadcrumbs, but it's still like enough to be like, yeah, this is kind of fillery, but you're not. It doesn't feel like it's a waste. It's not like it's not insulting. It's not insulting filler. It's like actually good filler that's like, and that makes you like excited to watch it. So then after that, uh, we get introduced to this cult that moves in that they worship the Silver Wolf. That Silver Wolf is a big thing in Anima City. That they kind of worship him as a god. It's like a religion there. So this cult moves in, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we have the Silver Wolf here and all this kind of stuff." Michiru gets kind of caught up in this, and she sees a character that looks like her friend, and she's like, "Wait a second, is that Nozomi?" And she starts getting involved in it. She runs into Boris, who I said a little bit earlier that when you first see him, you know something's up with this guy. This guy has he has snakes coming out from his sleeves. He has fucking snake eyes, and like it's so on the nose. It's so on the nose. They're like this guy is shady. He's not gonna be a good guy, is he? Like something's up with him. Uh, so you already feel uneasy with him. She catches up with her friend, and you start to get a little bit more of the pieces to the puzzle. They got into a car. They got into a car accident. Right after that, Nozomi turned into a beast man first. She was the first one to be turned into a beast man. She became a fox girl. This van pulls up, kidnaps her, and drives away. Michiru is like, "What the fuck happened? I thought you died," and all this stuff. So now this is what I mean. That this is like shit I love is that there's a secret mystery that's been going on that you're not even aware is going on, but it's been going on. So the bike scene in the very first episode, the flashbacks to her and her friend are all little pieces of their old life. And it's like they got into a car accident or a bike accident. They get into a hospital. They bond some more. Till one day she turns into a beastman and she vanishes. And Michiru, like, she told the viewer, like, yeah, I'm here to find out what I am. But she was also secretly investigating anything about where her friend might be. Because she thinks that she's dead, sure. But, she wanted also to be sure, to kind of see if there's any leads in Amity as well. And when she runs into this fox, she was like, "I thought you were dead. Oh my god!" And you start realizing like, holy shit, she didn't get killed. She was kidnapped and kind of forced to be this martyr or whatever. It was such a like it was this cool little moment where this realization hits, and I mean they also like reveal that a little bit more as well as the show goes on. But it was so cool, like you see kind of this little secret story going on that kind of comes to a point. So they bond. They get reacquainted with each other. Um, Shiro does not trust her because she's like, "Hey, there's something fishy about this cult. I don't trust it. Whatever." Um, so they hang out, whatever. The one scene that I like is that they're trying to find refuge in Anima City, so they have to meet with the mayor to get like permits or whatever the fuck. As so Michiru's like, "Look, I can take you to the mayor. I mean, I know where she goes. You can talk to her, whatever." So they take her there, and Nozomi kind of upstaged Michiru and kind of like lied a little bit about whatever. So as they leave, Michiru kind of confronts her about it. It's like, "Why did you have to lie? I mean, I brought you here and all this kind of stuff." And Nozomi kind of like tells her, "Look," and this is what I mean by it's like fully clear alternative. That she kind of tells her like, "Look, you thought I was helping you. You always have this assumption that you're helping me, and I never asked for your help. I was gonna do this anyway. I knew this was gonna happen, and you kept getting involved, and I never asked you to be involved, and all that stuff, and this and that." And she kind of shits on their friendship a little bit, and I really, really like that. At that point, it was just like, oh shit, and I loved how emotional it was for a point that was like, oh man, yeah, imagine having this conversation with your best friend that like, look, you're fuck you, whatever. And then Michiru is like, I can't deal with your lying. Boris is a fucking old guy that's a fucking creeper dude, and this whole religion is just it fucking stinks, and I just want to be friends. You're doing this to me? Fuck you! I can't be friends with you when you're like this." And she just throws the necklace away, and that was like such a nice butting of heads there, and that kind of is a running theme. Now, of course, at this point, at the end of the episode, it's revealed that like she kind of moves right across the street, which in my mind I was thinking, oh, they're gonna make her the villain. They're gonna do something to make her like have this conflict continue between um Michiru and Nazuna. I think it's Nazuna. Having this conflict between these two, and as I'm like watching this play out, it doesn't, which is like, Trigger has done this with Little Witch Academia, where they give you this like little expectation of like what you think is gonna happen, and then it subverts it completely. And I loved it because the fight that they had wasn't like for Michiru. She's like, I don't like what you become, whatever. But she's still like she can't walk away from her friendship with her. She still cares about her. She was just upset, and that episode ended when their friendship kind of ended so depressingly. It had this like it played the credits theme, and she's just kind of moping around depressed. But later episodes, like you understand, like Michiru doesn't like hate her or anything, and she still like likes her as a friend, and she still wants to try to like get her to realize that fucking Boris is a fucking pedophile and all this kind of stuff. And I really really liked that friendship and how strong it was between them. That Michiru couldn't walk away, so she keeps trying to like help her, no matter what. So I'm gonna just jump a little bit ahead. I just realized now I'm going through every episode, almost pretty much, not all, but pretty much everything. So to a point, she finds out that Nazuna is helping Sylvasta find out a cure for Beastmanitis, whatever. They're trying to find a way to turn Beastmen to humans, pretty much. And once Shiro realizes this, he is like, "This doesn't sound fucking right. You're making Beastmen not be Beastmen anymore." And it was under the guise of like, "Hey, these Beastmen go crazy. Once they have all the stress built up, they're gonna fucking go berserk pretty much." And that was like the whole reason, initially. And it has this conflict. Like the other thing that they kind of play off is that the villain Alan. Uh, you kind of know, like, that, yeah, this guy has to be the villain. He's very, like, he speaks a little too straightforward, but the thing I do like about Alan as a villain, and I think more shows should kind of look at this, is that he is not a mustache-twirling villain. He doesn't do stuff that's, like, that gives you mega, mega, mega villain vibes. Like, he comes up as a smart villain. Like, he knows how to get around things, and like he knows how to win Michiru over. And like Michiru still has some doubts with Sylvasta, sure, but she also is like, she understands the importance of these vaccines. Like, she goes along with this fear tactic of the what do they call it? Nisriel. It's some weird name. Syndrome, Nisriel syndrome, whatever. Uh, and Alan kind of uses this fear tactic kind of to validate him wanting to turn beastmen to humans. Uh, and what is so like and you as the girl also fall for it. Like, that's what's so cool about it, because you look at this. Because at first you do want to side with Shiro, but Shiro also gets wind of this. And the other thing with Shiro, the other thing that they kept hidden, is that Shiro is actually the Silver Wolf. Like, he's actually the big wolf that people like worship. But he went into hiding and all this kind of stuff. He does his own thing. He got immortal from what happened to him, because he lived thousands of years. There was this big war between the humans and the Beastman. They used to live in harmony, and then the humans kind of wiped out the Beastman, and Shiro blamed the humans for doing that. But Alan reveals that it wasn't the humans that started the war and all that. What happened was that the Beastmen were freaking out. They went berserk, and the humans were kind of doing this out of self-defense, and they decided to decimate them because they had to they couldn't live with this, because all these beasts were kind of living with all these different species that led to them going berserk. They just could not live like that. So the humans kind of up to as a response. So you're sitting there as the viewer and as Michiru, like witnessing this, you start to sit there and be like, oh shit, maybe this is for the greater good, because you don't know what other thing they can do. But the show also goes into this theme of don't make decisions for other people. You're making these decisions for everyone, and you're not thinking about the consequence. You're not thinking about what these other people want. You're just doing this because you think it's right. And what ends up getting revealed even further into the story, into the last few episodes, is that Alan was actually a beast man. But he doesn't smell like a beast man because he's a purebred beast man, which is like this. So as I said earlier before, you have this obvious conflict with humans and beastmen, this obvious allegory or symbolism of racism. That is the most basic thing you can have. I mean, you kind of have to have it when you have a show like this. But that's like a little bit like the icing of the cake. But then you have this other layer, which is like Alan is a purebred, and he sees a silver wolf who's a mixed breed as lesser, and he sees, and Alan goes on to say, like, all you beastmen interspecies relate, all you people are mixed breeds, all you guys are fucking weird, and you're not as pure as me, all you guys don't deserve to be beastmen. Beastman is a holy thing, and it can only be purebred, whatever. So Alan kind of does all this grandstanding, pretty much, saying how cool he is because he's a purebred. So you have that layer going on as well, which is like, and when I was watching that, I wasn't thinking about that the whole show, because like that is something interesting, because like I did think it was to some point. I mean, it did come across for obvious reasons. Like the rooster had a relationship with this other animal, and I was just like, what? Like, it's interesting that it shows this, and you don't think about it in any other way. Then it's like, yeah, I guess it's like that's just how it is. I mean, Beastars goes into it, and then but that's like a little bit different than how BNA handles it. It's more just like, yeah, it's so like interesting, and it does like kind of represent a lot of civil issues that society has faced even in the real world. And it does it in such a anime way, but it's so intricate and so clever. Like it goes like everything about the story of BNA is clever. Like it doesn't treat you like an idiot, and with Alan, like this is why what I mean, like that this show learned a lot from Little Witch Academia when it comes to subverting and kind of talking to you like you're an adult. Like Little Witch Academia had this character Chariot who was Ursula. You knew Ursula was Chariot the whole time. They don't bullshit you and like, oh, is she not, maybe not. They don't give you that bullshit. She's her. Yeah, and the whole story kind of gives you a reason to like that. That makes it work. It doesn't piss you off, and the show does not treat you like an idiot about it. BNA does not treat you like an idiot when it comes to the Silver Wolf's identity, or Alan, or Boris. Boris was just kind of a comedic, like, yeah, this guy's a fucking snake. Okay, you have Shiro, that you could see him and say that this guy has to be the Silver Wolf, right? He's a wolf. He's silver. He's doing stuff for the mayor. He's kind of this like loner kind of guy. He has no official capacity. It really makes you like wonder. A lot of stuff. And the first time you see him in the show, he starts tearing up at the festival, and that was because he was thinking back of what years and eons ago when animals and beastmen were happy. It made him like nostalgic for that. But the show does not treat you like an idiot over it, like, because they don't make it a focus. They don't make that the focus. You think it's gonna be the focus when they introduce the wolf cult, but the second that wolf cult's introduced, they're like, nah, she's Nozomi, she's her friend, so it can't be the Silver Wolf. And you're like, okay, and you kind of know that this whole cult is like it's bullshit to a point. Uh, and then with Alan, he's just a clever villain. Like he's not super duper evil, where he's like, oh, Michiru, since you found out what we're doing, I can't let you leave, or anything like that. Or like he doesn't trick Michiru into doing his bidding, which is really like there's one episode that I thought that was gonna happen because like she tries to save Nazuna from this MRI, whatever. She thought that something bad was happening. She gets revealed that they're trying to find a cure for Beastmanitis, whatever. And at that point, because the whole time I was like, this Alan guy, I don't know, I don't like him. And then, like, as he's talking to Michiru, I was like, oh god, Michiru, don't. I hope it's not like, oh my god, we gotta help Alan, yeah. And that never happens, which is really thumbs up. They did not do that bullshit with us. Because you could argue that maybe, when Shiro is about to, like, destroy the test subjects and destroy the machines that they had, and Michiru kinds of tries to stop him, she wasn't doing it for Alan's benefit either. She was doing that because she thought that's what needed to be done, because there's no cure for this syndrome, and Michiru kind of felt that it's for the greater good that these people, get treated. It's that until the concert. And that's when Michiru understands that this concert is actually going to be used to force the beastmen to go berserk and all that kind of shit. And Michiru's like, yeah, I'm for this vaccine or whatever, but this is bad that they're doing this at a concert. This is going to cause death and it's going to cause shit. This should not happen. But this served as a greater scheme of getting people to hate Beastmen more and giving Beastmen more of an incentive to not be Beastmen anymore. So Michiru did want to stop that because that would be bad. So she tried to defend the cure for being made and all that, but she did not want the chaos that Alan was working on. So she had a agency for herself, which is clever. It's really clever how they handled it, where it's like, Michiru's not a dumbass, and she doesn't believe the villain like that, and she's not like, oh my god, the villain said this, I have to believe it. She has her own agency and her own, personality. That's what I mean. Like, Michiru's not a fucking dumbass. Like, she's such a good character, and then Shiro goes crazy because he felt like he failed the city as he bit into Michiru, and some of her blood entered his system. He was able to reverse that transformation of the Neville Soul syndrome, whatever. So as he did that, he was like, wait, they can slow Beastman. We could just make the serum out of Michiru's blood and Nazuna's blood too, I suppose, and we could just give this to the Beastmen so they don't have to not be Beastmen anymore. So when they try to confront Alan with that, Alan's like, yeah, that is cool and all, but nah, we're keeping my plan. And it's just like, wow, like that is like, and that's how it introduces the purebred kind of angle with it, which is really nice. Like, it's really nice that there's all these layers into the story, and the villain is evil because he's so self-righteous, and he's like, nah, I don't want to. I want to have the power to myself. I don't want these beastmen to be beastmen. They're a plight on what it is to be a beastman. And then the conflict between him and Shiro is really good. Everything pans out very well. And I do like that. I saw I followed this Twitter account that posts BNA screenshots, and I like some of the art, so that's why I followed it. There's an image of Boris uncomfortably kind of spooning, holding whatever Nazuna, and it's to me, I didn't think much of it. It's like, okay, because she's like this holy icon for this cult, and I mean I saw under that uh filter, like, oh, whatever, but one comment changed that so much. He was like, "Oh yeah, this is fucking pedophilia," and I was like, and it kind of like struck me when he went full snake mode, and he was like, "Oh no, sorry, you gotta be with me," all this kind of stuff. I was like, dude, this this show had another like arc that was going on that was resolved. Like like this show had so much going on in the background that like it doesn't seem like it's going out that it's coming out of nowhere either. Like it's there, and it's so it plays off the show so well that it's like it's neat because it makes you really like appreciate the world as being very depth. It has a depth to it that is so like unparalleled almost. Like some shows, I said this about Last of Us 2 in the last review that sometimes when you keep a simple story and you stay on that beat, that allows for rich character development and memorable moments and all this kind of stuff. While with BNA, like if you can nail a story and then you start adding all these other hidden arcs in it and that flow with the story as well, it's the payoff if it works is incredible, and it paid off because like I'm sitting because like this that whole arc with Boris being a pedophile like makes so much sense, and it adds to more of this like reason why Michiru could not let go of the friendship, because she just really did not like Boris being in her life, because she was like, look, Boris is like in his like 50s, dude. You don't think there's something wrong with that? And she gets like involved with it, and it's like it adds so much, and like this is like the little things in the show that they give you that make you like appreciate the characters and the story more. Like BNA does so many things that are just so well done. I think the only thing that I would say is a that could be seen negatively. It didn't bother me that much, but I could see it being a bummer for some. Is that the final conflict with Alan, the big fight between Shiro and Alan, um, does run the gambit of, did this kind of have a one-off ending where it's uh like a Deus Ex Machina. You have like, it's like in Korra, like in even at Last Airbender, even though some people don't want to admit that, but there's a conflict the main character has, and then like, oh, there's this magical thing that shows up in the story that makes the character do the right thing. And you could say that Michiru's blood being the magic cure to everything is that plot device, but the reason why it didn't bother me as much is that it worked in the sense of like what Michiru was, because she wasn't just a Tanuki. I mean, that was her base form, sure, but she was able to like fly. She was able to grow rabbit ears and shapeshift her body. So that at least kind of explained away why her blood would be the cure for that, because they introduced earlier on that like the reason why this Universal syndrome exists is because all these beastmen used to live spread out, and as the human population kept growing, their civilization kept shrinking, and eventually you had to force all these beastmen to live in one area that, you know, animals obviously have territorial kind of needs. They can't live in close proximity. So that is one of the things that triggered this syndrome to happen. So having Michiru and Nazuna be this animal that has all these other animal traits live in, that it kind of works on that level. So it did. I could see people saying that felt like a plot contrivance, like, oh, Shiro like drank her blood and whatever, but it at least went with the themes of the show and went with what they told you. So it did. So like I could see that being a negative for some people, but I think it worked out for me because it at least like it built up to it. It's not like it came out of left field like in Last Airbender. Honestly, look at after Last Airbender, the last episode, the fucking like by chance Aang shows up on a lion turtle, and the lion turtle's like, "Oh, don't worry, bro. You don't want to kill outside. Got you covered." And it's like, really? Like, just all that happened just all at once? Okay. So like that's I mean, you can say whatever about that, but this is at least like kind of built up to it. But I could see the argument too that this seems like a very quick end. But it worked for me. And the other thing I loved about BNA, and this is something I look for in a lot of shows, and Kill la Kill does not do this. Uh, Girl Lagann does it. Little Witch Academia does it. Promare to a point does it as well. But I love when at the end of a show, all of the characters that you meet along the way have time to shine. They're all utilized. So it's discovered that Shiro's howl, his when he's as the Silver Wolf, that howl makes all these beastmen kind of revert back to normal and relax pretty much. So they're scurrying to get everyone to listen to this howl, and I'm like, well, how are we going to turn on the TV? How are we going to get the signal hijacked? The minks you meet at the beginning of the episode, they see reoccurring. The kids from the baseball episode that you've seen throughout the show, they all play a part of everything. The bird you see in one of the episodes, the flight episode, he plays a role. Like all these characters are utilized. No one feels underutilized. Like that was really one of my complaints with Kill la Kill is that by the end, everyone gets wiped. Oh yeah, you have the DTR shit with nudist beach, comic relief. Oh, Gamagori, yeah, comic relief. Like everyone gets dumbed down in that show so that Ryoko can save the day pretty much. So no one really had a time to shine in that show as much. They always had a strong cast, but the show just does not capitalize on it all the way. While with BNA, Gurren Lagann, Little Witch Academia, they all capitalize on the cast. They have the strong cast, and it capitalizes on them. Like, oh yeah, these kids are like these goofy kids that do like shady shit just to get by. Yeah, these kids are gonna be the ones that are gonna go and break into people's homes, turn on TVs, and go out. Oh, the Minx, she's gonna be the one that hijacks signals. Oh, Nazumi, she's gonna be the one that's gonna talk to kids to get them to draw and shit. Oh yeah, the flight guy, he's gonna be the one to teleport all these kids around. So like every character serves a point in the story. So no one feels wasted, no one feels um underutilized. That's really the other thing that I get that I'm a sucker for. I love it when uh I love it when that shit happens. When everyone gets the time to shine, to contribute to the end. The other thing I loved is I love the use. I mean, of course, all their animes do this, but they use the opening theme in that segment where they're trying to get the TVs turned on and all that stuff, and it's used brilliantly. Like it's like at that point, it was just like, oh yeah, you get really amped. Uh, and I really loved that. So, it's a great show. I really enjoyed it. I think it being 12 episodes is perfect. I was convinced. I was concerned, that the show would feel rushed. I thought the ending was gonna be like kind of rushed and it'd be a race to the finish, but everything was developed evenly. I can't honestly tell you what I would think would be rushed. Honestly, I can't tell you what feels underdeveloped or what. Everything seemed balanced. Again, I think this is just Trigger really mastering storytelling, animation, all that kind of stuff. They're just uh, a a monster when it comes to that. So I think it being 12 episodes is perfect. I kind of feel like that maybe that's what Trigger should be doing. Is if the other thing I look at it is just the nature of storytelling. If your story can be told in 12 episodes, do it in 12 episodes. You don't need to stretch it out to be like a full anime season or something. Just make it as long as it needs to be. And I think if their stories need to be 12 episodes long, it should stay that way. But they can do whatever they feel like it as long as it works. But I think BNA being 12 episodes play to the show's benefit than as a hindrance. So if I were to give it a rating, I'd probably ooh, honestly, I think this might be a 10 for me. But I mean, I don't like giving a lot of stuff tens because like then it's like you know, uh, fuck it, you know, maybe I'll give it a 10. But again, I think it's more important to listen to my thoughts than just a rating. So, that's it. Thank you for watching this on the spot review. I thought this was gonna be like 40 minutes, and it ended up being longer. But it's just that good of a show, guys. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one, guys.